Hey all right, welcome to tonight's podcast slash Zoom call. This is going to be really laid back, full of excellent information, just as far as common mistakes that I myself have made that ended up holding me back or derailing me, and common mistakes, most common questions that I get that I see from clients that are really holding them back. And it's not due to anyone's fault except for just misinformation out there. And just because something may work for your aunt, sister, best friend, cousin, random coworker does not mean it's going to work the same for you, because your body is not the same as anyone else's. We're going to go over all kinds of really big tactics to understand all of those things. I'm not going to go too deep on any of the details unless there's questions asked specifically on them. I give you a good solid overview on everything. But as always, I'll start with some announcements first, and then we'll dive into those pieces. So as far as announcements goes, I believe all check-ins are completed that have been submitted so far. There might be a couple left out there, but they will be finished up between tonight and tomorrow. Reminders for the beginning of new goals are starting for like fat loss goals again, since the majority of people in here are going towards a fat loss goal. Just remember that it takes time to achieve these goals. Just because, and I'm just going to throw it out there, people that are doing like shots or crazy diets or stuff like that, they're going to probably see the scale move very quickly. You cannot compare that to yourself. You're doing something different. You're doing something that's sustainable and long term, that you can continue doing sustainable and long term. And we're going to dive into that piece later, but we cannot compare apples to oranges. We must compare apples to apples. Okay. So if they're doing something completely different, you cannot compare your progress. In all honesty, if you are tracking and hitting your macros consistently, then you can expect to see wonderful progress that is sustainable, and it's going to be slower progress, but you're going to learn the habits in order to maintain those goals a lot longer, which means you're going to stay healthier a lot longer. I also want to touch on the point that just tracking your macros is not going to be the same thing as actually hitting your macros. So there are a lot of people that'll message me and be like, I have been tracking for 2 weeks straight and I'm not seeing any progress. Meanwhile, I look at their nutrition log, and not to laugh at you, but I need to point out a fact that just because you're tracking wine and cookies and fruits and vegetables and protein doesn't mean that the wine and cookies are now going to magically make it okay, right? Like, we need to be hitting the macros. Now, if you can hit the macros, and we can hit the protein and the calories while having a glass of wine and some cookies while everything else, then perfect. But we have to hit the protein and calories. We need to hit the macros consistently in order to expect that progress to unfold for us a lot faster. So please understand there's a difference between just tracking and actually hitting numbers. Um, I really, really want to keep on hitting on simplify, 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 right? If you are overwhelmed, if you are confused, if you feel like there's too many details, bring it back to the basics. Go for water, go for protein intake, go for whole foods, prioritize sleep, and go for a walk. Really hit on those. If you can hit those consistently, you're gonna do great. So please, please, please just remember, if you're feeling overwhelmed, pull back, do basics. That's gonna be great. A couple of things during check-in reviews, we aim to give 1 to 2 main points of focus for the coming week to reduce overwhelm. If I told you absolutely every last thing you could work on in order to optimize your progress, you're going to do none of it. So we always, always, always really focus on 1 to 2 things for you to work on each week, so we can build on those points in order to make you stronger, in order to make you like more educated on the situation, to make you more confident, and to keep on building on good habits. So while check-ins may not always be full of a ton of big things, we really just want to focus on like a couple of main pieces each time. And when you get really good at accomplishing those, then we can keep on building on them from there. Another point of that I want to make is we will make supplement suggestions or recommendations in order to fill gaps in these like check-ins and reviews. I want to give you a reminder that there's never a requirement or expectation that you would order said supplements. We always want you to accomplish things through whole food, but when we see gaps in your nutrition, things that you're struggling with, we will make those recommendations and give you the education behind them so you understand the tools that you do have at your fingertips in order to utilize. So that's kind of how those work. If you ever have questions on supplements, please ask. We will tell you our opinions. We will answer your questions. We'll give you the best suggestions. Heck, half the time I tell people you don't need to be taking half the things you're taking. Let's save you some money instead of spending more. I don't want to see you having a medicine cabinet full of everything. That just doesn't make sense. So, that's kind of how we operate there. If you do order first form supplements, please do so through my links. I really, really appreciate that when you do that. And then if you could send me the order numbers that start with 1P, that's always incredibly, incredibly helpful. Um, Oh, and then the other thing I did want to point out that a lot of people don't realize, or maybe they forgot about, we have a ton of samples that you can order through my website. Like everything from reds and greens to magnesium flavors to microfactor flavors to all of the pre-workouts. We don't have all of the protein flavors, but we have a variety of protein flavors, protein bar flavors, meat stick flavors. We have a ton of stuff on there. So if you're wanting to try before you buy, see how your body likes the supplement itself, see how you react to it, see if you like this flavor or that flavor more. You can try out as many or as few things as you want to, and that way you go into your purchase with confidence when you go to make that purchase or if you go to make that purchase. So if you want that link to my website, you don't know where to find that, let me know, shoot me a message. I'll put that out there for you so that way you can grab that. Actually, I'll put it, let's see. Um, there we go. If you go to the link that is in the chat and then scroll over until it says samples, then you can choose build your bundle and you can pick whatever you want to from there. We'll get them sent out to you and then you can try your things. So that is something I wanted to point out for you all. Um, I wanted to also remind you all that our new core program that I built is going really well so far. I've had really great feedback on it. It's 3 days a week. There's a stability day, a strength day, and then a hit day, all to help you build a stronger core and help you reveal the core muscles that are underneath whatever we may be having on top of them. So with that, it is for intermediate and unlimited plan people only. And if you want that added to your program, please let me know. I can go ahead and get that added to either a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, or Wednesday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. There we go. So if you want that core program added, let me know. I'll get that added in for you. Just shoot me a message and we can do that for you there. And then the last piece before we dive into things is please continue sharing about my app, about the programming, any posts that you find helpful, our group page, anything that you think is helpful, please do share it, invite people to the group. It's always amazing, and your referrals mean so, so, so much to me and this team that we love seeing it grow. And there's been a number of you making those referrals lately, and I can't say how grateful I am for you. So that is where all of the announcements are. We're going to dive in now to the most common mistakes. These are kind of just going to be like a laundry list of things that I feel like are the most common mistakes that I see, the common mistakes that I made, give you some reasoning behind why they are mistakes, why they're out there, some things to do instead, just to give you a well-rounded knowledge base. Some of these will apply to you, some of them won't. It just depends where you're at in your journey. So, too little calories for too long. This is so common, it's insane. In fact, one of the common things that I see really more than anything is that people are in like this massive caloric deficit for like 5 days a week, and then they go to binge city on the weekends. And that is not helping you in any way, shape, or form. I also see people that are just in constant caloric deficits for just months and months and months or years and years and years. I did this. Please don't do this. It is so hard on your body. It is so hard on your body. But I did it for way too long. And honestly, it can lead to a ton of issues. Eventually, it will actually like halt your progress and it can even reverse it. Once you get to a certain point of being too low in calories for too long, you will often see progress not only stop, but then fat gain begin to pile on. And then it feels like, what in the world am I supposed to do now? You will also likely have a loss of muscle tissue and therefore metabolism, which is why that fat gain starts to happen. It can lead to hair loss, poor sleep, poor mood, poor libido, gut health and digestion issues. It's really, really, really just needs to be a focus point that if we're in a caloric deficit, we don't want to be too low. And if we are going to be in a caloric deficit, we don't want to stay there forever. We want to make sure that we have a plan to come back out of it for at least a little while, and then we can go back into it if needed. As far as where you should be, it's going to be different for everybody. Okay. But for my most standard people, if you are wanting to lose body fat and you're sitting at a desk for most of your day, this is like 90% of our population. Okay. What you want to do as far as basics go, and this could also pend people, but just give you a ballpark idea. Take your take your current body weight, and it will change if you have a lot more weight to lose. But if you have less than 60 pounds to lose, take your current body weight and multiply it by 10. That will give you an approximate deficit to be in. So, for instance, if you weigh 175 pounds and you want to weigh 150, we really need to be hitting around 1750 calories right now in order to give your body enough food without taking too much away. And then your protein is a big piece of that. We don't want to be hitting 1750 calories, but only like hardly any protein. So we want to go about 1 gram per pound of that goal weight for protein or a little bit higher. So at least 150 grams of protein with 1750 calories would be that situation for that person. Like I said, this is going to depend on a lot of different factors. This is the basic nuts and bolts of it. So if you've trying to figure out if you've been eating too little for too long, please reach out, let me know, let us know. We're happy to walk you through where you should be or where a good starting point should be. And we can go over that. Obviously, the more muscle that you carry, if you've been doing this for a while, your calories are going to be a bit higher. If you have more than 60 pounds to lose, we're going to calculate those things differently. There's a lot of factors that go into it, but this is the basics. So please, 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 if you have been eating too little for too long, reach out, let us know. We'll walk you through how to make that difference and that change. Another big one that I also definitely did for way too long is choosing processed foods over whole nutrient dense foods. Oh my gosh. Let's just start with fat-free and sugar-free, low-calorie foods can be extremely tempting. Look, Jenna's raising her hand too. We're twins for a reason. We decided to suffer together, okay? But they can be so tempting because you feel like you get to eat so much more of them, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I can have 12 slices of this bread instead of 2 of this one, right? And then you feel like you're eating so much more. But honestly, that's not how it works in your body. Your body looks at these sugar-free and fat-free foods that are actually very much full of extra preservatives, fake sugars, things like that that help build up all the flavor in there. And then your body looks at those as totally foreign foods, digests them extremely differently. They don't keep you full for very long at all. So that's why you end up wanting 12 slices of said bread instead of having just 2 of the actual high quality. And that's just one example. We don't want to be throwing our body into this like shit storm. Sorry if there's kids around. As far as you know, putting all those preservatives and stuff into your gut because your gut is not going to digest them appropriately. And when your gut doesn't handle foreign foods or toxins like that or preservatives like that appropriately, then it sends signals up to your brain. And then that's where we start making weird like brain fog and poor decisions and poor mood and all of that can all be tied together. I do have a question. What about low fat foods? So low fat, depending on what it is, right? If it's like a dairy product and you choose like 2% instead of full fat, that's fine. That just means that they skimmed more of the milk fat off the top of it. That's okay. I wouldn't go for fat-free dairies necessarily majority of the time, because they probably will have a few more preservatives in them. Not necessarily look at the label, but often if you look at like fat-free cheese, it's not like that stuff doesn't melt. Like it's basically plastic. So really it just depends on what the product is. But if you want to go like non-fat Greek yogurt or low-fat Greek yogurts, just make sure that they don't have a bunch of additives or anything in there. Do your best to choose things that have very minimal added sugars or zero added sugars, and then you'll be in the clear. It really depends on the brands as well. So just get used to looking at that label, see if there's added sugars. That'll be your first kind of red flag if there's a ton of added sugars in there. And then look at that ingredient label. Really, the less ingredients, the better. And if you can't pronounce something on that ingredient label, it's usually something to start getting weary of. So hopefully that answers your question, but ask more if you're not sure. Um, let's see, other things. Oh, our bodies respond a lot better to high quality and minimally processed foods. So as crazy as it sounds, and I'm not going to go super deep into this, but this is something I'm incredibly passionate about, is once you start actually eating caloric dense foods and nutrient dense foods, like you're having potatoes and you're having oatmeal and you're having avocados and you're having, extra virgin olive oil and you're having high quality fatty meats like salmon and stuff like that, then all of a sudden your body starts responding a lot more appropriately. And when your body actually takes in these foods, it actually breaks them down in a more efficient way where, so for instance, like with foods that are whole grains, it actually has fiber and stuff in it like that. So when we have fiber in there, it's actually going to utilize the fiber differently. It's going to slow down that digestion pattern. Your body's going to actually burn more calories in order to digest and utilize those foods than they would those, fat-free, sugar-free, low-calorie diet foods per se. So if we can actually manage to take in more whole foods, your body actually utilizes them more appropriately. They're going to keep you fuller longer. You're going to have a better mood, better gut health, better brain health, better everything, less inflammation. So there's less red flags going off in your body all the time. And then your body actually ends up burning more calories in order to digest, break them up, and utilize them instead of just pushing them through. So really, just case in point, if you've been struggling with brain fog, extra body inflammation, joint pain, bloating, excess cravings, all of that stuff, let's back away from, the sugar-free, the fat-free, the calorie-free foods, and let's really try and look at these nutrient-dense options. Try and reduce out the packaged foods. Let's see. The other thing I really want to point out before I go on to the next section of this, not all foods in your health food section are automatically free game. Please do not think that just because they're in the health food section that they are automatically healthy. They are not. They are not. Now, are there some great options in there? Yes, absolutely there are. But just because they're in that section does not mean that they are automatically a green flag. Please still use common sense. Please still actually look at the back of the labels and the packaging. And if anything else, go into the produce section, go into the meat section, go into the dairy section, do your best in there instead. The health food section has its perks, but it's a lot of confusion. So stick to your simple stuff, stick to simple ingredient stuff, stick to stuff that doesn't come in package. You're going to do great. Okay. All right. Another thing that I see a ton of people struggling with, and I went through a phase where I was afraid of this too, but avoiding carbohydrates is not necessarily the answer. Now, avoiding junk food carbohydrates is probably a good choice. I don't have any problems with you having a couple of cookies here and there, or some Doritos, or some French fries, or whatever. But if we're having 90% of our carbs come from these things, that is not going to be beneficial for you, right? I'm all about that 80-20, right? 80% really good, clean, quality foods, 20%, fun stuff, right? But What I would rather see you do and try to understand is carbohydrates are not going to be your enemy. It's that junk food carbohydrate that has come across. Hi, Cody. And so if you're eating a lot of junk, right, then your body's going to crave more of that junk. And if you're eating a lot of quality carbs, they are not going to cause the issue for you. If I see you taking in carbohydrates from fruits, vegetables, beans, legumes, whole grains, they are not going to cause problems for most people. I'll go over a quick little caveat here in a second. The difference between sugar and fruit and a candy bar. I really want to hit this home. Yes, there is sugar in an apple. Yes, there is sugar in a banana. Yes, there is sugar in berries, in grapes, in cantaloupe, in watermelon, right? There are sugars that are natural in fruits. Now, how is that sugar different from what's in a Snickers bar? Right? Well, the fruit is a natural sugar for one, and those foods all come with something called fiber in them. And when you have fiber in with your sugars that are natural, your body actually is able to manage the blood glucose response a lot better. And we can manage the blood glucose response instead of having these spikes and then these drops and crashes. We stay a lot more stable throughout the day, and when we manage that through having fiber intake and natural sugars, we don't have these big cravings, these crashes. We don't have this like bloat and then this blowout per se. I didn't even think about that, but that's true. But there's all kinds of stuff that goes along with that. When the fiber's with it, it helps everything stay a lot more steady. When we're steady, we make a lot better decisions. We don't really go reaching for a lot of extra junk. We can walk by the candy bowl at work without a problem. We can walk by the teacher's lounge without stopping in for a free donut. We can do all of those things a lot easier when we manage to stay a lot simpler throughout the day, a lot more managed with our blood glucose. So we really want to be choosing sugars that are natural, that come with fiber naturally in them. That's going to be your fruits and such like that. It's going to be your sweet potatoes. That's going to be those kinds of things. Now, a lot of people get scared of fruit because it has sugar in it. Now, those carbs do add up, yes, for sure. Just because, you have carbs in your day doesn't mean that you should have like 12 apples, right? That would be a lot. But I would suggest, yes, let's have some fruit. Let's have a fruit or two a day, depending on what your carb goal is. And let's have a lot of veggies and beans and some whole grains too, and even it all out. It's going to be great. Um, and then other things that I did want to touch on, if there's anybody that's a little bit new here, times that we would want to limit carbs, even if they're naturally occurring in fruits and potatoes and such, would be our people that struggle with PCOS, endometriosis, diabetes, or insulin resistance. If you struggle with one of those four, we will want to probably pull back on carbs for you because your body doesn't utilize carbohydrates as a normal body would. We have a different response to handle there. So if you do have one of those things going on for you, or you're not sure if you do, reach out, let us know. We can talk through it and see if that's something that we should make an adjustment for you for. But otherwise, if you don't believe that you struggle with one of those four things, we should be okay to take in a proper balance of fruits, vegetables, legumes, carbohydrates in general, even if there's a cookie snuck in there too. Okay. Next thing, overdoing HIIT and cardio. This was also me. I am a huge ex-CrossFitter fan. I love CrossFit. I love crushing old like crazy hard wad and then laying on the floor feeling like I died. It's wonderful. I love it. It makes me feel strong, but it also totally destroyed my stress response system for years. So here's the thing. If we are doing HIIT and doing like long runs or like sprint hits, that kind of thing on a weekly basis, working them in there like, 1 to 3 times a week, that's great. We can totally do that. But if you are crushing hard, high intensity workouts, really, really long runs every single day, that is where people are going wrong. And that is going to cause excess stress on your body. It's going to like cause a whole bunch of extra struggle for your body to recover. And therefore, if your body can't recover and it can't rebuild itself, then it'll just continue to break down. When you are working out, when you are running, when you are doing high intensity, remember, those are all catabolic things, which means you are breaking your body down, right? It's in that rebuild process where we're anabolic, we're rebuilding. That's when we're eating our protein, we're having our carbohydrates after we have a workout. Our body is recovering and rebuilding. When we're sleeping, we're rebuilding. If we don't give our body enough rest days between high intensity, between long runs, then it'll just continue to break down and break down and break down and break down. And it can only break down so far. Okay, so we really want to make sure that we're spacing these high intensity things out, giving our body and our mind a chance to rest, recover, recoup. So I really want to hit that home. If you're a big CrossFitter fan, I love you. I get it. Let's focus on strength more than all the high intensity WODs for a good portion of the week. It's going to be hard. I get it. But all honesty, if you're struggling to make progress, that could be a big reason why. Um, let's see. Oh, and then on that note, if you're struggling with things, right, you can totally do like a short hit workout on your 1 to 3 days a week and then fill the rest of that time with walking, right? If you can add in a 30-minute walk every day intentionally on top of whatever small hit you may have had that day, and then like strength training, or if it's a rest day, go for a walk. That walking is going to be such a sweet spot to help you lose body fat and help your body recover. So walking, as boring as it may be for some, go do it. It's so incredibly beneficial. Um, Another one, avoiding resistance training, is a big one. I never really had this issue. I mean, resistance training is where I started with workouts when I first got going in it. But there's a lot of women that are afraid to do resistance training because they think they're going to turn into mini Hulks. Here's the thing, you're not going to get bulky on accident. It's just not going to be a thing. It's very hard. You see women that you think are all bulked up. Trust me, they did that very intentionally on a very, very strict plan for a very long time. You're not going to wake up looking like Mr. Hulk on accident tomorrow morning because you worked out and had a protein shake. That's not going to be the case. So remember that muscle is one of those things that if you don't use it, you will start to lose it. It is one of those things that will start to get broken down much faster because it's a very calorically expensive thing to have, meaning the more muscle tissue that you carry, the more calories you need to consume in order to maintain it, or utilize and burn in order to maintain it. Okay. So you will not get bulky, like I was saying, by accident. Muscle gain is the same as toning up or leaning out. I really need people to understand that. Muscle gain and muscle retention is the same thing as toning up. It is the same thing as people saying they want to lean out. All of those definitions all lead to muscle gain, muscle retention. Just to put that out there, okay? So with that being said, if you don't work your muscles at least some, they will start to atrophy quickly, leading to a host of issues both inside and outside the body. You'll start to see your blood markers and your cholesterol markers kind of go out of whack if we start to lose a lot of muscle. We'll also start to see body fat gain. You will start to see just like your body kind of looks sunk in, like those kinds of things. You don't want that. Okay. Most of the people here have told me that their goals are not those things. If your goals are those things, I have mad respect for you. Okay. Go ahead. But most of the people that are here have told me that that is not their goals. Um, let's see. Oh, and on that note, for most, 3 to 5 days of lifting and then 6 to 7 days of walking is the true sweet spot. Mel's laughing. Hopefully that's a good thing. Okay, so with all of that, we are also going to jump into another one, ignoring sleep. You guys, I have burnt the candle from both ends for many, many, many years. Jenna, don't give me that face. You gotta sleep more, sweetheart. You know it too. And here's the deal. Sleep is so imperative, you guys. It's so important. I am like an old lady. As soon as I get done with this call, I'm gonna go in the house and I'm gonna be like, done, right? Because like sleep is where our body actually does all the recovery. It's where it does all the rebuilding. If we skip out on sleep, you guys, we are really just discounting ourselves the opportunity to rebuild the muscle that we work so hard to break down and essentially try to rebuild from the gym, right? You can follow the perfect workout plan. You can follow the perfect nutrition plan. You can intermittent fast properly. You can drink all the water, take all the supplements. But if you aren't sleeping or you're not prioritizing sleep, you are going to get stuck. Sleep is so hugely important. Okay. So a couple of things to really understand is if you continue to like discount sleep, you continue to burn burn the candle at both ends. I'm going to do the work until, 10, 11 o'clock at night, or maybe you're Netflixing it till 10 o'clock at night. And that's not late for a lot of people, but if I'm up at 10, we're having issues. But then maybe you're getting up at 3 a.m. to go to the gym because you got to get to work by whatever time. I get it. I've been there. I've done it. I did the thing for all the years. Let me tell you, it bit me straight in the ass. So please don't do that to yourself. What you might start to see is a cortisol belly, as we may call it. It's where we have a belly fat gain here in the front bottom. We don't want that. People always call that what, like a spare tire. We don't want that. That's often called a stress belly. When we're stressed out because we're not getting good sleep, that's called a cortisol belly. Cortisol, stress go together. Cortisol is our stress hormone. So if we get that too high too often, never bringing it back down for good quality sleep, then all of a sudden we gain this belly, and that's not what you're going for. Other things that can also start to happen, even with 1 or 2 nights of poor sleep, you can make your cravings a hell of a lot worse. You can really find yourself in a poor mood, poorer decisions. The scale can definitely increase and fluctuate just from 1 or 2 poor nights of sleep. Brain fog, headaches, all of these things can build up from just 1 to 2 nights of poor sleep. So if you compound that for weeks and months and all of the things, just imagine where you end up. Okay. So please, please, please start focusing on good sleep quality. Plan your sleep and recovery just like you do your food and your workouts. If you are dedicated to your food and your workouts and truly want to make a change, please give yourself some sleep. Awesome. I think I have 2 or 3 more. Um, okay, never going outside in natural light is a big one. It is winter here. It is cold. The wind is blowing. We have drifts of snow. I won't lie to you. I was not outside for very long today, but tomorrow I will be. I'll get out there for at least 10 minutes to show my eyeballs the natural light. And it's extremely, extremely important, you guys. Even when it's cold and you're all bundled up, if your eyes can see natural light, you're getting more vitamin D that way than you will through a window any day. Okay, we need to get your eyes into the natural light every single day if possible for at least 5 to 10 minutes. Um, and like I was saying, through a window does really not count. Even on like the dreary, cloudy, overcast, rainy days, your eyes can still tell that it is natural light. There are receptors in the back that will lead into your brain that give all these different chemical responses and hormone responses that will ultimately help a ton with your internal clock. It's going to help with producing proper hormones that release at different times of the day. It helps with hunger and cravings. It helps with like overall reproductive hormone health. Even it helps with gut health, it helps with digestion, it helps with sleeping better. There are so many things that come from your eyes just seeing natural light every single day. If you can do it in the morning, even better. And it's also a massive stress reducer, so please, eyeballs outside 5 to 10 minutes of the day, please. Unhealthy expectations is one more here. Really, I want to hit home that once again, we cannot compare apples to oranges. If your girlfriend is taking Ozempic shots or somebody else is doing, I'm not even going to name diets because I don't want to do that. But if someone is doing an extremely low calorie diet and they're dropping 20, 25 pounds a month, it's really not sustainable for most people, you guys. Really, like if you want a long-term sustainable goal to happen and you don't want to lose it, because here's the thing that happens when people go on these shots or they go on these crazy diets, right? They get all this progress. They get all this progress. And then what happens is they go back to normal life. What happens when you go back to normal life? You put it all back on. But in that process of being on this shot or being on this crazy diet, they don't prioritize protein and they don't prioritize working out. So you lose a butt ton of muscle, which means your metabolism drops crazy far down. All of a sudden, this shot or this workout or this diet doesn't work anymore because you've lost as much as you can lose. What do? You start going back to your normal lifestyle, which was before, in an even worse metabolic situation. So you even put on more body fat and you could end up having more body fat than you even have before you started that diet. It's a vicious, vicious, vicious cycle, you guys. Your proper expectations by doing it the right way, the healthy way, through whole food, through movement, through water, through sleep, all of these things, 1 to 2 pounds per week, you guys. Right? That is the long goal. That is the long goal. Now, if you have 200 pounds to lose, yes, we might expect to see that happen a little bit faster. But if you have less than 50 to 60 pounds to lose, we shouldn't be expecting to see some drastic situation happen week after week after week. It's going to be an average of 1 to 2 pounds per week that we see. And sometimes that scale is going to go up too. Be prepared. It's what happens. So please understand healthy expectations, 1 to 2 pounds per week. Um, let's see. There we go. One last one, you guys. This has been a long call. Sorry about that. The last thing, and very, very important, people avoiding or not prioritizing protein, like we were just talking about with the whole diet situation. If you do not prioritize protein, and you're working out, you're running, you're on a crazy diet, you're doing anything like that, you will almost certainly suffer from muscle loss. And if we suffer from muscle loss, we are going to struggle with metabolism loss. We are going to struggle with cravings. We are going to struggle with wanting to binge on everything. We are going to struggle with more illnesses, more sickness, more colds, more everything. We're going to struggle with less strength. We're going to struggle with getting burnt out easier. We're going to struggle with less bone strength, more falls, more injuries. This is why people that get older and they never prioritize their diet or movement, they lose all of their muscle and they fall and they break a hip, right? This is why this happens. This is why this happens because we lose so much muscle tissue and we're no longer strong because we haven't forced ourselves to continue staying as strong as we can. We fall down, we break, right? Having muscle helps your bones stay stronger. We need to do that. This is not just about feeling good in a bikini in Hawaii next summer. This is about us being strong and healthy for 40, 50 years from now. I want you strong and healthy as long as you have grandkids and you're still kicking, right? I want you feeling good. This is what this is about. So please prioritize protein now. It matters a ton. Protein is literally the building blocks for all structures in our bodies. All, not just muscle, all. So please hit your protein goal. It needs to happen every day. Um, okay. That got real dramatic. It's been 52 minutes of fun. No, not 52. We started at 7:15. I did pretty good. Okay, so what questions do we have? Jody, do you record this so I can send to my mother? Yes. I'm sorry I read that out loud, but yes, I will send it to you so you can send it to her. I would love to have her listen. Honestly, if anybody else wants a recording of this, let me know. It'll also be the podcast that's released on Sunday, so you can obviously utilize that, share that as you please. But this is recorded. I'll get that emailed out tomorrow morning to my email list, and Jody, I'll add you to that as well. If you want a copy of it, let me know. I'll get it emailed to you in the morning too. But does anybody have any questions at all? Any comments, anything you want to add in before I sign off for the night? All right, guys. Well, awesome. All right. You guys have an amazing night. Thank you so much for being here. As always, if you think of anything that you need, I'm here. So reach out anytime. I'll talk to you all later. Bye, everybody.